episode of Coaches Convos. I'm Coach Will, I'm here with Coach Quan, and today we're going to talk about weight stack and cables versus plate loaded versus free weight. And we're going to get into the nitty gritty of why we use a combination of all three, what's the benefit of using one over the other, when should you do one over the other, and more. But in the meantime, if you can just hit that subscribe button, hit the bell button to see every video. Our video is going to drop every Tuesday at 10 o'clock. Be sure to be the first one there. Comment, like, and let us know about any other topics. If you're the first on that list, your topic's probably going to be talked about. So, with that being said, do you want to kick us off with what do you prefer?
All right,
of the
so
three?
For me personally, depending on what my training split is or what I'm looking to do for the day, it depends. I'm probably going to be bouncing around from all three. So in my training splits or my routines, I'm hitting the cable stack, the free weight, and then also I'm using the plate loaded machine. So I take advantage of the machines very much well. I'll either start off with a heavy plate loaded and then finish off with a light cable stack, and then I make definitely do with the barbells and the free weights. So I recommend doing all three if I had to give any recommendations, but that's just a personal preference for me. I'm using all three depending on what I'm doing for the day. Legs, chest, back, shoulders, every muscle group, I'm probably touching all three: free weights, cable stack, and then the plate loaded machines. But what about you? What do you use?
So I agree. I do use a combination of all three. It depends mainly on what my goal is for that day, whether I'm focusing on power, whether I'm focusing on hypertrophy, whether I'm focusing on endurance. That will verify. That will be the variable of which one I'm using, and also if I'm working on the mind-muscle connection. And we're gonna break down that more in a second. But when I am taking on clients, and I don't know if you will agree with this, I'm gonna start. If it's a brand new client, baby face, first time in the gym, never worked out before, I'm gonna lean more towards the cable, the cables and the weight stack, because they put you already in the position of the proper form. Excuse me. You have less variables of the stabilizing muscles that you have to worry about, and it helps them get more of a mind-muscle connection, so that they can transfer over to then maybe plate loaded, and then depending on their goals, barbell or free weights. Now, mind you, depending on your goals, you don't need to do all three. I have a lot of older clients that probably are not never gonna touch, but don't want to and don't really need to, bench. I don't need a deadlift with my seniors. I don't exactly. I don't need to run the rack with them.
Exactly. I know you touched base on this too, but you didn't say anything about it. Even so, for some of more so for our more beginner starters to the gym, body weight exercises. So starting them off with just their body weight, getting them to learn how to control, whether it be a deep squat or a push-up necessarily.
100%.
Those two things are super vital, and they also put you in the posturing form for when they are going over to the machines. All right. So yeah, basically just just proper preparation before we are putting them on the machines, just making sure that they can control their body weight, whether it be like doing a squat or a push-up, because we do have those cable machines. So I know that you definitely do that too. So
100%. Oh yeah, I do a lot of, especially because that's some of their goals. Some of them want to learn how to do a push-up, and also it's a lot better to get, like you said, like that mind-muscle connection, getting an understanding of where you should be feeling it in a squat. So having them be able to do a body weight squat, so they can get the depth, and they can get the understanding, and they can make sure that their heels aren't coming up or anything like that.
Exactly.
Same thing with push-up. I even go as far as, if they can't do a push-up yet, I put them on the wall. On the wall.
Yeah, so for me, with my clients coming in, depending on their goals, depending on their knowledge and background of being in the gym, that's also going to tell me where we could start. Or we always do like a fitness assessment, the first workout, just to assess where they're physically at, and see where their limits are necessarily. So we are trying to push them on that first session, but we're not trying to kill them. Again, it's just an assessment, and then from that assessment, I'm going to start writing up a program. And then with that program being said, depending on what your goal is, I have some fat loss clients where we're not even touching most of the heavy weights, where we're just using like 3 pounds or 5 pound dumbbells, and we're more focusing on a little bit of cardio, enjoyable movements, something that they could do long term. And then for some serious clients or guys that want to get a little bit bigger, put on that muscle mass, we're going right over to the barbell section and then the free weight section. We're going to stand over there for a little bit, learn how to control all that stuff. But again, I do touch base. I do have them starting out on the machines as well as with the barbells and free weights. So it's really depending on their goals. I gear what we're going to do in our program to that. So that's what I'm trying to do, you know?
Definitely, and I agree with you. Like, that's why a lot of trainers do that free assessment, because we want to gauge where you are. We want to gauge your availability and your ability. So a lot of my clients, more often than not, 9 times out of 10, if you're someone doing a fitness assessment with me, you're probably going to do a total body workout, 30 minutes, usually 2 sets of 10 on machines, because that's how I can really gauge how stable you are, how strong you are, how susceptible you are to injury. If you already have an injury, how can we correct it? Anything like that, because I feel like you have the most availability to play around with the injuries on a machine without necessarily compensating somewhere else. So, like, exactly. I have people that maybe have bad shoulders. I don't want to put them on a flat bench press or a dumbbell bench press, because now their other shoulder going to take over. They're not going to be even. They're not going to be as effective. They're not going to be as safe when doing their dumbbell bench press. But if they do chest press, I'm able to more target and figure out where I can put their arms, where I can put their shoulders, where I can set them up so that they're feeling it in the right places without bothering their shoulder or bothering their injury they have.
Very low risk of injury
yes.
on the cable and the free weight machines, most definitely, compared to the free weights and the barbells, definitely. So I would say that's a benefit.
Yeah, so honestly, let's go right into the pros and cons then of each one. So we'll start with the cables, we'll start with the weight stack, and that will be the first pro, is that it is lower chance of injury.
Yeah, most definitely. And then I would say the second most important one is the ability to get that mind-muscle connection. So, yes, you can push the threshold and go a little bit heavier than necessarily needed. But then you could also isolate and really focus on the muscle groups worked and that you're trying to target. So say we are doing like a cable fly, standing or seated on the cable attachment, arms come out, close in, stay nice and light, really focus on that connective tissue in the middle of your chest, compared to feeling it sometimes in your shoulders. Some things start to fall into play where we're not necessarily feeling it in our chest, but being able to stay light and really focus on that mind-muscle connection, taking a step back down just so that we can ensure progress later, is always a good benefit.
And another reason why the cable is so good for the mind-muscle connection is because of the path of resistance. So the difference between a cable versus a weight is that you're actually going to get the resistance all the way on the positive and all the way on the negative very evenly, whereas a dumbbell or plate loaded, there's more of an arc of the resistance, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Where you're going to feel it more at the top and at the bottom of the rep, whereas with the cable you're going to feel it all the way through. So especially for my new people trying to get mind muscle connection, and anyone who's looking for hypertrophy, if you're looking for that muscle growth, these are optimal. This is why a lot of my hypertrophy-based training is wrapped around cables, because definitely. I can get more of a demand. I can do a lot of 1.5 reps, or I can focus more on the eccentric. I'll have more of a demand on my muscles in the eccentric form when I'm having the negative, and I'm having the resistance even throughout. Whereas with gravity, say perfect example, the bicep curl, you're feeling it at the bottom when you initiate it up, and at the top. But with the cable, you're feeling it all the way through, very even, very perfect path. So that's another positive, is you're having even resistance throughout. Another positive is, honestly, a lot of machines, a lot of cables have the directions on there, have little tips and tricks to help remind you for beginners. Yeah, the QR codes as well. And that's all going to be just helpful for you if you're new to the gym, if you're trying to learn proper form, if you don't have a trainer with you. I still recommend having a trainer, because they're going to point out what you might not see in yourself, because you might think, oh, I'm doing it right, and you're not. Even though you're looking at that, sometimes some of us aren't visual learners, so then that's another thing for trainers. Another tip for trainers is figure out how your client learns, which is, are they a kinesthetic learner? Do you have to actually touch and manipulate their hands and their arms to do the right form? Are they a visual learner? Do they have to watch you or are they, you know, an auditory learner? Do you have to explain it to them, or are they even, I forgot what it's called when you write it down. Like they take notes, and they're better when they learn from notes. So that's another benefit. If you are if you're more that type of learner where you can read it and you can comprehend it through reading comprehension, it's better that way. Or maybe the visual of the video from the Scammy is going to be helpful for you.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, I just wanted to go back and touch base on the hypertrophy training. So that goes back into that mind-muscle connection thing, but I want to rear off of it and just go on the muscle isolation. So as well as the mind-muscle connection plays a role with it, but you really can focus and isolate those said muscle groups. So say you're doing a bench press for your chest. Not only, like you touched base a little bit before, but you have other muscle groups that are involved in that compound movement. Same thing with dumbbells. Other muscles are going to be involved to stabilize. So it's not just your chest that's active, but your core, your shoulder blades, and then your glutes even are active in a bench press as well. So keeping that in mind, so you're making a full body, you're making a chest exercise turn into a full body exercise without necessarily trying. Okay, so when you are on those free weight machines, the free weight plate loaded machines, or the cable stack machines, that takes it away. So you mentioned that a little bit, but I just wanted to touch base on it a little bit more. It takes that away completely. Those stabilizing muscles are not active, and it's not going to recruit other secondary muscle groups in the body just to make the rep efficient. All right, so really get to isolate that said muscle group. So just for chest example, instead of doing a bench press, doing a chest press machine, you really can isolate and really focus on that hypertrophic effect.
Absolutely.
In training.
And just so you know, if your chest press turns into a total body, you're still doing it right. It's the correct form. That's how you do it correctly, by having the stabilizing muscles, by having your shoulders and your triceps. That's why it's called a compound movement.
Exactly.
A compound exercise is your bench, whereas your chest press or your chest fly is more of an isolation movement.
Exactly.
Because you can, like you said, target the chest. You can also focus more on the plane of motion, because now you can go across more.
Switch, yep. You
Absolutely.
can do different things with it. You go single arm, one at a time. You can do a lot with it. So
now let's talk
there's
about
a lot of benefits. My bad.
Yeah,
My bad.
absolutely. No, I'm sorry. Let's talk about the negatives now of machines.
I would say one of the biggest negatives is getting stuck on the machines. All right, so the machines are good, but they're only good for a period of time. So now necessarily that just falls down into programming necessarily. So that's not on you or the person. If you're not following the program, I don't expect you to be changing your routine too much. But being so that we are trainers and coaches, we provide our clients with programs. So we should be trying to switch it up a little bit. If we could progress on that said exercise, then we could stay with it. But don't get caught up in staying on the machine for too long of a time period. So say I have a client that comes into me first month, we are working around first day or second day, we're working around 30 pounds on the chest press, for example. Chest is just super easy, so we'll stay with the chest. On the chest press machine, we're working around 30 pounds. By the end of that month, I would be looking to definitely have progressed in weight, posture and form is still active and the same, we'll still touch back on it, and then we might start doing a chest press with the free weight dumbbell machines. Free weight dumbbells instead of using the machine. But that's only going to happen if we make progress on the chest press machine first. So how do we ensure progress? Just making sure that the weight is heavy constantly. Not heavy necessarily, not the weight, just heavy, but making sure that it's challenging for said person. So if I see that 30 pounds isn't a challenge anymore the next month, we shouldn't be doing 30 pounds for a month. But you guys get what I'm trying to say.
Progressive overload.
Progressive overload, exactly. So we should be slowly but surely making sure that the weight is still challenging, but we are increasing our weight as we're going through week by week or month by month. And then after a period of time, I'll eventually have them get up from the chest press machine. All right, we're going to the dumbbell section, grab some dumbbells, and then from the dumbbells we'll probably work up to a barbell, and then we'll work from there. But it's all depending on their goal necessarily.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. And actually, speaking of progressive overload, I actually want to jump back onto the positive, and I'll go back into the negative. You actually can have a more fractional progressive overload with a machine, because a lot of the machines, especially that we have here, can vary from 2.5 pounds up to 7.5 pounds. You can gradually build up a little more than maybe some plate loaded machines where you can find 2.5 pound plates, but they're few and far between in most gyms. So you have that opportunity to slowly build up. If you're struggling with, say, a shoulder press or chest press again. You can really build it up very slowly and go in 2.5-pound increments to really isolate and perfect that form while still continuing to add more stimulus. So one of the negatives of using the plate stack is your stability muscles. Now, while it's ideal to, while you're building up a foundation, not needing to rely on the stability muscles where you can focus on isolating the muscle that you're working on, it is important to train the stability muscles, those little muscles that are going to help keep you focused, keep you straight when you're doing a flat bench versus a chest press. That's going to help also with your coordination as you get older. It's going to help you with just your proprioception, which is how your body reacts in space and time. It's good to have those, getting a little fancy here.
Yeah.
It's good to have those stability muscles, and it's also having those stronger is going to help reduce your injury. Now, for the people who maybe are too scared to do free weights, we also have, there are cables that have more stability. So like there is a chest press and then there's a chest cable press. So that's one way that you can gradually build up to building your stability muscles without necessarily putting yourself in a predicament where dumbbells could lead to injury, or if you're someone who might not be ready, or you are prone and susceptible to injuries and don't want to do dumbbells, this is a good way to build your stability, because you still have to keep yourself in the right plane of motion without coming all over the place.
And this goes for everyone as well, beginners, intermediate, and even my advanced guys, or super advanced guys, you know what I mean? We could all take a step down. For those advanced guys, take a step down and go back to the free weights and actually test your strength, test your muscle size, all that stuff, all by just locking in and trying out the cable attachments, because there are a lot of benefits and some good negatives, some negatives to them, but there's a lot of benefits that you can get from doing them, most definitely.
Absolutely. Another negative I would say is the limited machines. So.
Okay, so like a wait time, basically?
Yeah, you might have more wait time. There might be, so I don't know about you, but I have this struggle training my clients where there's 3 different leg extensions in this gym. And somehow, whenever I'm ready to put a client on a leg extension, all 3 of them are taken.
Yeah.
Nothing sends me to the moon more.
Personally, this gym, 2 of them are booty. 2 of them are pretty bad. So like, we only use 1. Everyone only uses 1.
Yes, but even if you have to slum it down and bring and use the other 2, those are also taken because the other one is being used.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, I see exactly what you mean, and I hate that thing too. I hate it. I just want to be, when I'm with a client, I kind of want to look at the person there and be like,
But obviously, we can't do that. As selfish as we are, as much as we want to train our client as optimal as we can, this is a shared space. This is a gym with other members that are just as much rights to the equipment as we do. And that also, honestly, that makes me a better trainer because I have to think on the fly of what I can do to stimulate this.
Variations.
Yeah, absolutely. But that is one of the negatives. So if you're not comfortable with that, you might have to wait, because there might be someone who is scared to do free weights and is scared to do anything else but what they know, and they might sit on the same machine for 10, 15 minutes. Like some of the ab machines, I know some people that just sit there and they not even on their phone. They just that's their machine for the day, and that can be frustrating. But that's one of the issues that we have. That if you only keep yourself to cable machines, if you're not willing to venture out, that's why we do recommend you venturing out slowly, building up with maybe a trainer to make you more comfortable. I can't tell you how many people I have, guys and girls, that were scared to touch free weights. We're scared to even touch cables, and that's why they came to a trainer. They're like, I want to use the whole gym, not just the treadmill. And
exactly. Yeah, I've had a lot of people say that to me as well, and it's like, well, that's why I'm here. I want to get you comfortable so that you can go to the dumbbell section or free weight section and not feel intimidated by being over in that area. That is one thing that is a negative, I would say, about the free weight area, but we'll touch base on that in a second.
But that's also why, tangent little rabbit hole, something that bothers me as a trainer is seeing other trainers purposely do overly complicated, fancy, multiple step workouts when they're training their clients, if they're new clients and their goal is to understand the gym, because they're not going to be able to understand anything. I like it, and my training style is, we're going to learn. My goal is for you not to need me anymore. And we've talked about this a bunch of times. And teaching them how to properly use it, teaching them the little cues that they're going to remember in their head to make sure that they can continue using the machines outside of me. I have a lady this morning. She yells at me. She's like, "Do not touch that machine." I instinctively go set her weight. She goes and then she sits herself down and she sets it all up and then looks for me to make sure she got it right. But she goes, "I want to make sure that I can do this without you. Exactly. I want to be confident in the gym without you." Exactly. And I couldn't agree more. Yeah. I'm not gonna fight her on it.
Most definitely, and I love that aspect of it because that's all. So yeah, just making sure our clients are comfortable, they feel loose in the gym as soon as they step in. It's definitely something that comes into play, not being in set areas, that going over to the dumbbell section or the free weight section just because of the quality of person around, not necessarily keeping anything else in mind. So it does have an intimidation factor, and I would say that is an extreme negative. But there are a lot of positives that we could get from being in that section, the dumbbell and free weight section. So let's gear into talking about that. What are some of the benefits that you see coming from use for yourself and then for some clients with dumbbells and barbells?
Do you want to talk about them together with the plate loaded? Because I feel like they do kind of coexist.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So any kind of going into that the scary side of the gym, the some of the girls call it the manly side of the gym.
Yeah.
So in general, any kind of free weight, which is plate loaded and barbell free weight, one of the biggest positives is serious progressive overload. Very fast strength boosting abilities. I can overload this a lot more. This is good for my strength purposes, for building muscle, and even for my hypertrophy because I can. I have a lot more I can work with. I have a lot more free reign. With the plate loaded, I just have a more comfortable way to put on more weight very quickly. There's not that resistance aspect like the cable has where I have that even resistance even resistance throughout, so I can actually overload at the top, get that full contraction, keep my form, but it's not going to be as taxing on my muscles because I'm not putting the whole way through like I am with a cable and on the whole way down. Like I said before, you do have that arc of resistance on a plate loaded or a free weight that you don't have with the cable, so you can load it a little more so you can get more of a muscle stimulus and a growth response. Mm-hmm. That's one of my biggest points about it, and obviously the stabilizing muscles, but and that's what I use them for. So what is your takeaway from what's the biggest positive for you?
Basically, you were touching base on like the hypertrophy. Now if we're looking for more so like a strength gain, hitting that bench press or hitting our barbell for some deadlifts or some back squats will be optimal to build strength. It is a compound exercise, as we were saying before, that just recruits more muscle groups and your stabilizer muscles, your cores, everything's engaged. It's a full body workout when you're doing a compound. Mm-hmm. But with that being said, that's where your strength lies in your full body. So it takes a lot of concentration, a lot of mind-muscle connection, and good posture and form when doing so. We cannot just go to the barbell and act as if, even with no weight, act as if it is just something light. So you have to take it as serious as possible, but the benefits of the strength gains that you can achieve with said exercises are incredible. That's one thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one thing. Right there.
And it's a big thing. Another thing that I like is there's more freedom and there's more variation that you can do. So I've taken people through, I show them I can take a 10-pound dumbbell and I can get you a total body workout with just a 10-pound dumbbell, and I can make you exhausted by the end of it because it's not a rigid machine. So the dumbbell wasn't created for one thing. Yeah. The dumbbell was created for whatever we want to use for weight training. Mm-hmm. So I can go directly into, and I can superset directly into a chest, into a tricep, into a shoulder,
combo
a back into a bicep, and that's going to be really good for people who are trying to lose weight, doing a lot of supersets. It's going to be very good for that endurance aspect for maybe my athletes or anyone trying to build up endurance. For my bodybuilders, it's going to be a really good hypertrophic response because one of my favorite things to do is doing a chest press into a close grip chest press, or even with a fixed bar, doing a skull crusher into a close grip bench, where you're overloading your muscles and then going into an easier form of a workout to get that last little bit of ATP out of you.
Yeah, No, and I would completely agree. And I like how you touched base on the endurance athletes. Real quick, those are going to be doing a little bit higher, more rep ranges if we are doing weight training compared to our strength gains, where we're doing heavier weights and lower rep ranges. Our endurance, our muscle endurance, we're going to want to stay light and go high rep range. So about 15 to even 30 reps or even more, depending on what your sets and reps are. I know we have probably some endurance trainers in here. So just want to touch base on that.
And also with the athletes, and you can obviously correct me on this, but it's more going to be more explosive movement, more dynamic movements. Maybe jumping across two different planes of motion, whereas a bodybuilder is going to be more rigid and more set to one plane of motion, one workout to really get that mind-muscle connection, whereas you aren't as... You still want the mind-muscle connection as an athlete, but you want more of the explosivity, more of the dynamicness of a workout. That's why you're going so light, so that you can explode up into a rep without running the risk of injury.
Exactly. And I like that you keep saying that, without the risk of injury, because that is super important. We are trying to be in the gym for a long period of time. It is about longevity and consistency. And if we get hurt and we can't do a shoulder press, our shoulders won't grow. All right.
Yes.
So, but basically for our athletes, as you were saying, there's other stuff, not just the dumbbells that we would take advantage of, but we also would use stuff like the kettlebells, and then we also take advantage of our barbells and our free weights. And for the athletes, we're not necessarily going to be on too many machines, depending on what they're looking to do or looking to achieve. As you were saying before, different training styles get different. As you were saying before, different training styles get different training modalities.
You can do it. Third time's charm.
As I was saying, different training styles get different training variations. So you're going to want to be smart on what you're looking to do and use while you are inside the gym, depending on what you're looking to achieve. So yeah, most definitely.
And we talk a lot about bodybuilding, we talk a lot about nutrition, we don't talk a lot about athletic training, even though we have a certified athletic trainer right here. So if you're an athlete, if you're looking to get into athletic training, if you have any questions, be sure to subscribe, follow both of us, comment down below or DM us, asking us any questions about athletic training. It's something I'm excited to learn more about, and it's something that we can work together on, and Quan can really open up a lot more about. Like we said in our first video, Quan is a triathlete. He has a lot of that athletic background, and he is still continuing to learning about it.
A lot of fun, guys. I'm still having fun. Trust.
Exactly. And we talk a lot about bodybuilding, but there's so much more to fitness that we can talk about that you just have a world of knowledge about.
Exactly. So there's a lot that we can touch base on, but that for right now is just our positives and negatives on the free weight section versus the cable stack section, and then even just taking advantage of your dumbbells and barbells. Now, before we go, we do want to touch base on the core exercises, doing your core, whether it be on the cable machines or stack machines or just body weight core exercises.
Before we do that, we mentioned slightly about negatives. Yeah, no, we're good. We went down the rabbit hole. We're very good at that. But we did mention the injury part of free weights and dumbbells. Yes, there's a higher risk of injury. That's why you want to go a lot slower. You want to go a lot lower than maybe what you normally do on a cable. Can you think of anything else that is a very big negative to dumbbell and plate loaded? I can think of one. I don't know if you have anything.
I would say a big negative would be more so ego, and that's personal to everyone. We all have an ego. So understanding that we need to work with weights that we can control.
Yes.
Not necessarily something that we can't control. But then that falls back to injury. You know, we want to be smart when we're inside the gym, when we're weight training. But that's one thing that we have to fight with, a battle with ourselves when we're in here. Control the weights, work a good heavy weight, but make sure that it's not too heavy that your body's going to break down. So that's what I would say.
And also making sure that it's a weight that you can control with both arms or both legs, because another big light in my head when it comes to free weights and plates is muscle imbalance. We already have it. You have a dominant hand and a dominant leg. Even if you don't realize it, obviously you know you have a dominant hand because that's the hand you write with. But you also have a dominant leg. It's something as simple as there's probably a leg that you start every step with. When you go walk, you might favor one leg over the other. And that's something you don't realize until I bring it up. So right now, if you're going to get up and walk away, you're going to be like, oh shoot, I do always use my right leg, or I do always use my left leg. This is something I see a lot in my soccer players. or any kind of athlete, especially, you have a dominant leg, you have your power leg that you're going to definitely step off with. I'm sure you can agree with that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You have a leg that
jumps, squats, single leg squats, everything. You can tell right off the bat, balance stability, what's recruited, and who needs more.
Yes. So that's a downside of doing free weights and plate loaded, is that you no longer have a machine that is going to force you to stay stable. Now, even with a machine, you might still favor one arm more than the other. So in all these, a big negative is making sure that we're aware of our muscle imbalance. But it's going to be highlighted a lot more in your free weights and plate loaded. So you might go do a dumbbell press, and you're going to realize very quickly that your right arm can do 30 for 10, your left arm can do 7. And so that's going to change. It's going to make you lower the weight, again, taking your ego out of it. So I'm glad that you said that. Understanding that, I got to make sure that I can do it evenly. It's as simple as I have to drop my weight in my deadlift, and I have to make sure that my hips go all the way down. This is something that we just talked about last night.
Yeah, but I want to say, if you're one of those that are avoiding that dumbbell section and free weight section because of one of those reasons that we stated, yes, they are negatives, but we need the negatives to get back on track. So, yes, if we do have a muscle imbalance and you realize that, don't just avoid it. Let's try and work towards it. So there are a bunch of different things that we could do. So let's take the right approaches and steps to getting that imbalance back on track, because once we do have that imbalance on track, we have all our stabilizers, all our secondary muscle groups all ready to be in play when we are doing those compounds or simply on those cable machines and or doing bodyweight exercises. Everything will be tight and engaged, and that's what we need for proper reps and good posture and form.
Absolutely. Muscle imbalance and biomechanics like that are so important. We are going to actually dedicate a whole episode to that. We're going to really break it down into how we can go into unilateral training and different ways to really stabilize our muscle imbalances to help get us into a point where we're pretty much even on all our lifts, and that we can, and that's going to help you progress in the gym a lot more and also lower your risk of injury. We're going to talk about that in another episode, so be sure to stay tuned. Let's go back to what you were talking about with core.
Okay, so core versus cable. Yes, let's touch base on that. Core versus cable exercises for your abs.
Yes.
Now, I have 3 best friends, so we have them here at this gym, and they also were there at Planet Fitness at the gym that I started at. So there is a rotisserie, so an oblique crunch. So we're here rotating. The one at Planet Fitness, dude, best one in the world. I swear. You put your knees on it, hold your handles
You
here.
keep saying rotisserie like the chicken. Do you mean the rotary?
Rotary, okay. The rotary abdominal machine. That is my favorite one. It's an oblique crunch. So start on the side depending on the machine. You can start in the middle, go to both sides, or you can start on the right side, go to the left, start on the left side, go to the right. Beautiful. One, that's my favorite. Then the abdominal crunch, full body crunch machine. Very, very simple. Should be inside of every single gym. That was number 2. And then I don't know the name of it. I call it a total abdominal. It's just a different crunch variation where your hands are out and you're pushing the thing down. Now, those are my 3 best friends. I would do 100 repetitions while I was on my journey of losing all my body fat when I first started a long time ago. Wow. But I call them my 3 best friends. I give them to all my clients to this day, and I'm going to proceed to give them to all my clients to this day. Now, do I prefer cable machines or bodyweight core exercises? I prefer bodyweight core exercises. It is more demanding and taxing on the body, and it recruits your brain. You have to think while doing them. Compared to being on the machines, which makes it a little easy. I do the quotes because it's still pretty challenging when we are together. It should be pretty challenging, but it still makes it a little bit easier for the said person. That's why I did them. They were 3 best friends. Easy. So, when I have a client, if they're coming to me, if it's our first or our last session, we are probably going to take a seat on the floor and work with stabilizers and or doing abdominal crunch exercises. So, whether it be lower abdominals, middle section, or upper abdominals, we always get those side obliques as well. And then that's what I try and train, but more so doing the body weight with my guys.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. I do body weight. I tell everyone, if you can do body weight, let's do body weight, because my biggest issue with the ab machines is that it's very easy to cheat them. I'm the biggest guilty. This is more of a me thing. I obviously put people on machines as little as I can personally, but it's very easy, and everyone agrees with me because once I explain to them, they see what they're doing wrong. it's so easy to get your arms involved, to get your lower back involved, to get your legs involved, to take it away from your abs. It's very hard to really get that mind-muscle connection and get that feeling in your core where so a lot of people are going to overload it. They're like, oh yeah, I can do the ab machine, I can do the full stack on the ab machine, on the rotisserie machine, and it's so easy. Like I do like you said, like 1,000 reps, I do 100 reps, and I'm like, all right, but do you have it? Like then if I put them on the ground and make them do a plank, they can do 20 seconds.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Do you remember the guy, I forget his name, he would say he does 100 crunches every day on the crunch machine, and then he does the extra ones just to get really, I'm like, he's like, the 100 was the warm-up. I'm like, all right, man.
Yeah. And I know who you're talking about, and he is a king of the half rep. He is, he's actually one of my clients who I had, and that was something that my biggest thing with him was we had to work on making sure that he actually did the full range of motion, even though he had limitations, he had injuries. Now, sometimes when you lose a client and they're no longer your client, sometimes they don't do what you taught them, and that's something you gotta just kind of grit your teeth at. But that's okay.
It's all right.
It's all good. But that's my biggest thing. So yeah, you can do 100 reps. I could do 1,000 reps on the ab crush machine. It's not gonna do a damn thing. I'm gonna get a nice bicep pump, or I'm gonna get a nice back pump. So that also runs a higher risk of injury for me. And it's just not as effective. To me, it's a time waster. I always tell people when I'm doing a fitness assessment, I personally don't like ab machines. If you want me to show you an ab machine, I will gladly teach you how to do them. I'll teach you how to do them right so you're not wasting your time on that machine, but I prefer body weight for the same reason you do. It's much more demanding, there's more coordination involved, and I can also really break down into lower abs, obliques, upper abs, full ab workouts.
Literally.
All the little like hip flexors, anything like that. I can do a lot more, and I can also make it endurance-based and cardio-based. I can't do that on an ab machine.
Yeah, most definitely. And then I even find it so that it's like, compared to the machines, the free weight stuff, when we're doing challenging, stabilizing exercises like bolt holds or plank holds, any type of hold, necessarily that's going to give you that stimulus that'll correlate to when you are doing weight training necessarily. So the core training always correlates to the weight training. You're going to feel a little bit stronger with more of a brace in your stomach. So when you are breathing, your breathing patterns are affected. So you're going to take that deep breath, keep that core nice and tight, and let the air out as you explode up on the rep, depending on what you're doing. But train that core, it'll correlate to the weight training, and that's why we avoid the machines and try it on the body weight stuff on the floor so that we can build that core up. There's a lot more to just building your core up than just getting abs, you know what I mean? Everyone wants abs, we all want abs. The sun's coming out, it's still chilly over here, but it's about to be that time. And the way to do that is not by doing necessarily 150 crunches, you know? It's impacted in the kitchen and then the stabilizer muscle. So holding your planks, doing a few bit of crunches, and then taking care of what you need to do inside the kitchen will get you those abdominals. But real quick, because my athletes, they don't know this, and most of you guys probably wouldn't know this either, your abdominals is not just your core. Your core actually wraps around, image a belt. So we wrap the belt, say we're doing heavy squats, we wrap the belt around our core to brace our core. So your core actually stems from the lower abdominals all the way back to your lower spine, all the way around, wraps around. That's entirely your core. So if you have lower back problems or spasms, when we say strengthen your core, I'm not talking about your abdominals, I'm talking about your lower back. That's also part of your core. So we have to impinge that, affect that to get proper posture.
Yeah, that's the, no, you're good. That's called the transverse abdominis, that belt muscle, that's part of your core. Because like you said, there's more to just the ab, there's more to your core than just a six-pack. The transverse abdominis, I was going to say it as well. It's very important for anyone with lower back pain or anyone who has posture issues or people who sit way too long. You've got to build up your transverse abdominis. It's going to help keep your lower back safe. It's going to help wrap around your vertebrae, like you said, like a belt. Whereas our bicep is going to grow bigger, our transverse abdominis is actually going to cinch like a belt with putting more holes in it. And that's going to also help aesthetically. It's going to help you get more of that, that for our guys are V-taper, for our women are hourglass figure. And so there's the aesthetic benefit, but there's also going to be our safety benefit, where it's going to help our lower back. It's going to relieve a lot of lower back pain, especially if maybe you have bulging discs, herniated discs, L5 issues. or if you just hurt your lower back doing deadlifts like me, like a dummy. And
or like picking up luggage,
Yeah.
like groceries or something. It could be anything.
Absolutely.
Where you just do a little tweak.
Or if you're sitting around too long and you have back pain, this is going to help build that up. It also, like you said, it's going to help keep your core tight. It's going to help you be more explosive. It's going to help translate to a better squat, a better deadlift, a better bench,
day. Mm-hmm.
everything in general. That's all I got. Do you have anything else to say?
No, surprisingly.
This was a solid one. We had a lot to be said. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check back on this video when you're venturing out from the cables to the plate loaded, when you're venturing out from the ab machines to the floor abs. Check out our channels. We have a bunch of workouts. Alright guys, with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check this video back when you're ready to venture on from your cables into free weights or your ab machines into bodyweight abs. If you're looking for good bodyweight ab workouts, both of us have done a myriad of videos working on ab workouts that are going to help you venture off into that. Make sure you watch our forum. Make sure you follow the same forum. If you have any questions, be sure to comment them down below. Be sure to @ us. Both our @ are going to be down here at the bottom. And if you're looking for a good podcast that's going to teach you all about training, entering the gym, any kind of nutrition, or if you're a trainer and you're looking for a space where you can learn more about being a personal trainer, our years of experience, our, I think, 100 clients between the two of us over time. We've learned a lot and we're still learning, and you guys can be learning along with us. So, we'll see you guys every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Take care.
Take care.